Hi, Kimberly here again. So we are now looking at your risk assessment, okay? So your risk assessment is on page 21 of your LAP and it should look like this on this page here. So when you look at it, you can look and just think, oh my goodness, what does all this mean? And it's just a little bit confusing. And I feel like sometimes you just want to make sure that you're on your toes, you know exactly what you're looking for. So I'm going to walk you through that again. So it works all the way down here. So it's from page 21. Okay, brilliant. So the first things first is asking you to identify the hazards. So without giving you all of them, it's asking you to identify, is it four? I think it's asking for. Let's have a look. I think it's asking for four, but yes. And all right, perfect. Or and identify more you can do. So for example, I'm going to look at, again, I can see someone's back is arched over. I can see there's some trailing wires. I can see there's some wires that's from another plug socket. There's obviously water on a bench and there's some loose dumbbells, okay? They are just some of the hazards that you're going to have to look for, okay? So all you need to do is just circle the appropriate hazards, literally just in your LAP, give them a quick circle. Don't overthink it either. Perfect. Now we are down to task 2. This is where it can just get a little bit confusing. So I want to make sure that you know exactly what you're writing in these boxes and feel comfortable in doing so. Okay. So task 2 is choose one of the hazards. So of all the hazards that you have circled, this is where we're just going to pop this into this bit of a chart really, just to talk about it in there. So it says identify the 5 stages of a risk assessment. So a 5-stage of a risk assessment is the same always. So I'll just give you help with that to put them in the right order, okay? And then relate them to what's been the hazard that you found, which will be on this section. So the first section that's labeled 1 to 5, we're going to run through that, which is identify the 5 stages of a risk assessment. So number 1 is identify the hazards. So everything that you have just circled, so pick one of them that we're going to relate back to on this section. So identify the hazards is what you're going to write in number 1. In number 2 is decide on who might be harmed. So depending on which one you have chosen, will determine what we put in the hazards. So number 2 is decide on who will be harmed. Number 3 is evaluate the risk and decide on the precaution. Okay, so it's like we're making sure that every single step is covered. Number 4, record your findings and implement them. Okay, so there's no point going through all that and not recording it and then it potentially keep happening. And then number 5, in this one here is review and update. Okay, so what that means is we found that now we need to make sure that every single time that is doesn't keep happening. Okay, so for example, on number 1, I'm going to just run with trailing wires. You can use trailing wires or you can use any other one that you have chosen. But please please expand on what I say as well, because it's your knowledge. So for example, if I say number 1, which is trailing wires, number 2, which is decide on who might be harmed. So again, it could be clients, members, it could be staff members if they're falling over, tripping over. You know, it just causes quite a big, anything can happen when there's wires running around in a gym. I'm sure we all know what kind of things can happen. And then on number 3, it is number 3, evaluate the risk and decide on. So again, there could be slips, trips, falls. It's anything that's, there might be power going towards a machine that might get pulled, it might break the machine, things like that. And then number four, record your findings and implement them. So what that basically means is you need to write it down in your checklist, your check sheet, and then you need to tell your manager, then tell your duty manager. So then you will go in above and beyond to make sure that your recording, what you have found has been recorded and has been passed on to the right people. And then number 5, which is review and update. So how do you review that? So your duty manager might say, right, okay, so every hour we're going to have a walk around the gym floor. We're going to have a look around, make sure that all wires are tidied away. And like I say, that is all that you need to write in that. And I feel like sometimes it could just be a little bit overwhelming. Again, please expand in your own words as well, because this is your LAP as well. Brilliant. And how should the risk be managed? So here, so again, it's almost like you're repeating yourself because you've already wrote it in step 1 to 5 on the hazard section, but now what you have to do is basically do a bit of an overall. So for example, clear away cables and additional plugs, make sure that the gym floor is safe, make sure that all walk areas are clear, advise employees and members to keep an eye if there's any wires on the floor and pop them to the side, or tell one of the duty managers. So again, it's just asking you to basically reword it all back in that section. Okay, are we ready? So now we're going to move down to task 3. Brilliant. I hope everything was explained okay in task 2. It just seems like you're just repeating yourself, but it does really, doesn't it, a little bit? Fab. So task 3, now this is where we are going to complete a maintenance check, basically. So here we can see it looks like it could be a treadmill. It could be a treadmill, it could be a Stairmaster. It's irrelevant of what piece of equipment that it is. Okay, so here it's asking what piece of equipment. Then it's asking yes or no. So it's asking you a yes or no question to the question that is asking here. What is wrong, actions to be taken, and your initials. Okay, so for example, we can clearly see here this wire is snapped and it's broke. So it's asking, can you see the display clear? Well, no, because it's broken, so there's no power going to it. So we would leave that clear. We'd obviously just put is no, because we can't see it, but we wouldn't need to write anything in there because there's nothing to write. Are all buttons working? Again, we don't know because we can't get plug sockets into to get it to work. Treadmill belt. Is the treadmill belt moving smoothly? Again, we don't know because we can't get the power working. Is the stop clip and button working? Again, we don't know because we can't actually get over to see if it's working because we can't get the power supply to it. And then power cable is hidden away and free from damage. No, we can clearly see that it's damaged. It's this one here that we really need to start writing our findings in and be like, yes, we can see that the wire isn't hidden away. It's broken. We can't get the equipment to work because it is snapped. And then obviously what actions need to be taken. So straight away, we need to go tell our duty manager. We need to clearly put a poster on there to tell everyone that it is out of use. Because what you don't want is anyone going on there hurting themselves. And then obviously it's because it's a faulty piece of equipment. Okay. And then plug is free from damage. Again, we can clearly see that the plug is there, and we don't want to test it because we can clearly see that the wire is broke there as well. So again, it's just making sure that we're very clear on that. I think they try and catch us out a little bit, but we're too clever for that. We're too clever for that. Brill. And then on the handover, it's basically saying, just in this box here, just in this little box here, again, you don't have to overthink any of it at all. Complete a written handover and pass it to the next fitness instructor on shift, in addition to the faulty equipment that he or she needs to be aware of. So you need to say that in there. You need to also tell them in the handover that there's an induction that's booked at 11 a.m. and that there has been a class that's been cancelled at 10:30 a.m. and what has and what has not been cleaned. And again, for this, we're looking at professional, well, not, you want to be speaking to people and writing letters to people, in the right manner. Okay, so it could be say, hi Adam, Kimberly here. Hope you are well. Hope you have a brilliant shift. Just to let you know, I have found there is a faulty piece of equipment. I have let the duty manager know, and we have put a poster on there. We also have a gym induction that's booked in at 11 o'clock with John Smith. There has been a boxercise class that's been cancelled at 10:30 a.m. And I have cleaned all the bathrooms and all the changing rooms. I just haven't yet had chance to go over to the free weights and clean that area as yet. Hope you have a brilliant shift. Have fun. And then sign with your name. Again, it doesn't have to be exactly like that, but in that format, it has to contain the faulty equipment. It has to tell them that the gym induction is at 11. It has to tell them that there has been a class that's been cancelled, and it has to tell them what has and what hasn't been cleaned. At least that way we all know exactly what needs to be done and what has been done, what hasn't been done, so we all know where we're up to and make sure that everything gets covered, basically. So that is everything on that one. So we have now smashed task 1, task 2, task 3. And I think then once you've kind of ticked them off, it's quite a bit of a, oh, actually, it's not too bad. It's just a wording of things. So that is quite a big one ticked off. So get that on your tick list and let's move on to the next one. Bye.